also known as the Queen of Shine. She's a 3-time international best-selling author, inspirational speaker, holistic confidence coach, and the founder of the brand new Shine Collective in Minneapolis. Please go look for the brand new Shine Collective. Right? So many wonderful things and people and energy. And she empowers high-achieving, heart-centered women leaders and entrepreneurs to shine with confidence from the inside out through the power of self-love and inner healing. She hosts transformational workshops, women's circles, holistic coaching programs, offers Reiki, you do Reiki also, awesome, and sound healing to help women unlock their true potential. Dorothy-Inez holds a master's in organizational psychology from Azusa Pacific University. And when not working, she finds inspiration in music, her favorite Prince songs, and everything else life has to offer. Lake Harriet Spiritual Community, please help me welcome Dorothy-Inez.
Thank you. Oh, my mic is on. Good morning, everyone. I think I met everyone except for a few of you. I always like to know who I'm talking to. So I have to tell you, I sound really good on that bio. It's impressive. This topic here was a learning opportunity for me because, as you could hear, this isn't my expertise. I was supposed to speak last month, and I wasn't feeling well. And good old Gary had this interesting topic about creativity. So it was fun for me to look at creativity in a different way and be able to share that with you. And so if you weren't here before, was anybody here before the last time I spoke? Okay, awesome. I like participation. Can I get an agreement to participate so I don't feel alone up here? Thank you. So hopefully I get my clicker right today. So today I want to look at creativity from a divine perspective. I'm going to keep taking these off and on because when I put them on, you look blurry, but I got to see. I'm going to look at it from a divine perspective and then also just a more practical perspective as well. Gary, does the purple light still come on when I'm... Okay, got it. Thank you. So... The purpose today is for us to explore creativity as a divine gift and its impact on our lives. As I was studying this, I realized creativity has been with us since the beginning of time, because without creativity, none of us would be here. But we use creativity each and every single day. So I want to look at, like I said, both of the areas. I like to look at, when I say the creator, for me, that's God. And if I use the word God and that doesn't resonate for you, I invite you to use whatever does resonate for you. And if you don't believe, that's okay too. Just take what's for you, and what's not, that's okay. So next, what is creativity? So creativity is the ability to produce or develop original work, theories, techniques, or thoughts. Creativity requires us to use our mental processes, and it allows us to create inventions. It allows us to come up with new solutions. And for me, I love that it allows us to come up with beautiful pieces of art. And some of the things like this right here, that art, isn't that beautiful? Created by AI. So, as you look at the art pieces, I'm going to tell you the work, the images that you see in here, they're created by AI. I would say 85% of the art. And this is like an example of how we can use creativity to solve a problem. The problem was Dorothy-Inez is not an artist in this kind of way. And also, I don't know how many of you, do any of you do presentations? And you have to go out and find clip art or something to make your projects interesting. I literally told AI, I want this and I want it to have this feeling. And so the art you see in here is all AI, or say 85%. So, what are some of the outputs of creativity that you all have experienced? I mentioned art, AI. Absolutely. I might not have an answer.
In the interest of our audio, patience for the mic.
And welcome to our online audience. I didn't say welcome, I didn't acknowledge them. So welcome, thank you for being here today.
Hopefully this isn't too far off a field, but you mentioned God initially, and you mentioned AI as artificial intelligence. Is our mind like artificial intelligence, or is there like a superconscious mind or mind of God that we can tap into as if tapping into artificial intelligence? And how does that link to creativity?
Oh, that's a deep question. And I cannot answer that. That's a very good question. Because even I was looking at an article most recently about AI, and it was talking about its ability, because it's pulling from all the knowledge on the internet, and none of us have the ability to pull all the knowledge from the internet. And so it was talking about AI actually being smarter than we are. But the thing that AI doesn't have, that we have, that is godlike, is that we can feel. We have emotions. And AI does not possess emotions, and that's what makes us more godlike. Because I do believe that we're created in the image and likeness of God, and that AI is not created in its image. It's just full of information. A question in the back. I haven't even gotten started yet. This is good.
Also, I would imagine that free will would be the most important thing, because AI may have all the intelligence in the world, but it doesn't have free will.
At this time. Yeah, this is, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but there's a whole lot of, of saying AI could potentially become sentient and all these things. And so that's another topic. But for me, what flowed through me from his question is that, the difference between us and AI is the ability to tap into divine mind. And so in all those things, those creative things that are produced, I do believe come from divine mind. God gives people inspiration, you're in spirit. And so you're connecting with the source and bringing that, and hopefully you bring that forth. I don't know, have any of you ever read Big Magic? It's a book, it's really good. Big Magic talks about spirit giving you ideas. How many of you have had ideas and you never acted on them, and then you look and you go, oh, so-and-so's doing what I was gonna do? Because spirit's like, girl, if you're not gonna do it, I'm gonna give it to somebody who's gonna do it. And I've had that so many times, and I'm in a space in life where I'm like, I'm not going to keep holding back because I have less years in front of me to accomplish things. So I'm like on fire right now. So, it's time to do some things, right? So thank you for your question. Thank you for your comment. So what are some of the outputs? Let's go back to that. What are some of the outputs of creativity that we experience? I said art. I mentioned technology. What are other ways that we see? Music. What else? Cooking. Oh, good. We're going to bring that one up later. Anything else? Writing. Dancing. My favorite. Watch me on Fridays. I dance every Friday on my Facebook page. And how about, when we're coming up with solutions, whether that's in our relationships, on the job, we're brainstorming, we're coming up with ideas. That's creativity in action. When we're creating new systems, can you all imagine a world with no creativity? I think about, I'm a makeup artist too. And beauty is creativity. Shouldn't be a mask, as a lot of women like to think of it. But we talked about creativity. You know, in the beginning, God created the world. That's my particular spiritual belief, but that belief is in a lot of different religions or faith traditions, that something created us. And we, you know, again, when I go back and I think about us being creators, us being created in the image and likeness of the Creator, then every time we create, like I said, we're tapping into that. First it begins, you know, and I'm just going to use the tradition I come from, Christian tradition. You know, it says, we first existed in the mind of God. And that's where any idea, any solution, okay, we forget the religion, just look at the process. It first exists in the mind. Okay, then we speak it, and then we manifest it. So manifesting, I realized as I was doing this, I was like, that's a form of creativity, right? And it allows us, it says, you know, God's the creator, and we think of universe, like with universe, but you are the God of your Y-O-U, universe. You are the creator of your universe. So creativity is always in motion, and that creativity has the ability to impact not only your life, but the life of those around you. So why is creativity essential? Again, going to personal fulfillment. It allows you to contribute to the world's experience of beauty. That's when we talk about art. We talk about all these different forms of art. And these impact people. I know dance moves me to emotions. When I see a piece of art, I might be moved. Music moves my soul. So how is creativity moving you? I'd be curious to hear. How does creativity move and inspire some of you here in the audience? How does it touch your soul? Okay, so he said, see the world in a different way and create new opinions. That's one of my bullet points, because when we brainstorm, we are able to hear different perspectives, different ideas from people, things we never thought about. This is why community, common unity, is so important and so valuable to us. It allows us to connect, hitting on his point, to others, because we're tapping into, again, I believe when we're in the creative space, we're tapping into divine mind. It's also a way for you to express yourself, to release emotions. Dancing, I keep going back to the arts. The arts are so powerful. Dancing, singing. How many of you know that singing calms the nervous system? Takes your blood pressure down, calms you. Okay, how many of you chant during meditation? Anybody? Calms you, that vibration. How many of you know your voice is an instrument? Did you know that? When I'm studying sound healing, our voice is one of our instruments. Okay? So when you're feeling stressed, you can hum. And if you learn the scale, when those bowls are playing, those bowls are on the notes of the scale. And each one of those aligns with the chakra. And if you learn to hum in the tones of those voice, I have a question, Neil, in the back, or a comment. You learn to hum or sing in that tone, that will calm you. Dancing helps you get energy out. You know, so getting into some, I don't want to get ahead of myself giving you guys tips, but that's another way. Yes?
I used to sing in several choirs, and I remember multiple times I'd have a stressful day at work, and I'd be all stressed out, and I had to go to choir practice. At least that's how I felt. And I thought, geez, I'm almost too tired to go, but I went anyway. After choir practice, I was a new person. I felt the stress was gone. Everything was gone. I felt wonderful. And I thought, what's going on here? Anyway, I'm just
You're affirming what I'm saying.
affirming what you're saying. Exactly.
Thank you. That's my amen from the audience right there. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, creativity is such a blessing. So let's look at the process. So there's 4 stages of creativity. When I was doing my research, they talked about these 4 stages. And what I will share with you in these 4 stages is I'm going to share the practical and then how those stages also transfer into our spiritual development. So when we look at preparation, we've got preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification. And so we're going to look at how, let's see. There we go. Preparation. Preparation is about setting the groundwork. Now, isn't that a beautiful AI photo? I just had to comment. Preparation is about setting the groundwork for your creative work. And it's about learning and exploring oneself to opening oneself to a range of possibilities. So it says creativity involves actively searching for information, gathering resources, and setting the groundwork. It's about learning and exploring. So I thought of this piece like when you're on your job and your boss comes to you and there's an issue going on and you have to come up with a solution. You've tried everything. So this is the phase where you're going in, you're doing your research, you're finding out. Like me, I had to come prepared for this talk on a subject I've never talked about. So I did the preparation, I did the research, the exploration. And when we look at the spiritual parallel, it's inviting practices like walking in nature, prayer, meditation. These things here can help you to connect to your inspiration, can help you to connect with your intentions. So even when you're doing problem solving, it's like, what's your intentions? What do you want to have happen as a result of whatever it is you're coming to solve? And then you also have to have an open mind. How many of you have found that if you come to a problem with a closed mind, what does that create? Because it creates something. When you come with a closed mind, what does that create? Stuckness, chaos, contention. You see, we're always creating. Okay? We're always creating. The next step is incubation. This is that time where we allow ourselves to sit. It's our processing time. It's the time that the mind gets to digest. It's a stepping back. You know, there's been many times. How many of you have had those times where you've been working on a project so hard? What? Oh, thank you. I'm like, what happened? It's about, have you been working on a project and you get to the point where you're burned out, you're tired, and then you step back and you allow yourself to just marinate and you come back with fresh eyes and you create something even better. Has anybody experienced that? I know I have, because I'll get like rush. Like this presentation, I created it 3 weeks ago. And then I came back last night and just to refamiliarize myself, because I was like, does anybody else work better under pressure? So I was working so good under pressure, and I was like, wow. And then what you do, it's kind of messed up if you do that, because then sometimes you might have too much inspiration and not enough time. But this is the time that you allow yourself to sit back. And then in the spiritual side, hold on. This is where, oh, okay, I was still one slide ahead. Thank you, though. This is the time where we go silent, we meditate. You go on your silent retreats and you go within. You know, sometimes with what's going on in life right now, sometimes we need to step back. We need a breather from the everyday humdrum so that we can come back, even to just life's situations. Illumination, you guys probably already read this slide since it was sitting up there, is referred to as the aha. Oprah made the aha moment popular. But this is when the idea suddenly emerges from our consciousness. And it is characterized as a burst of insight. And I always think of insight again. I think of insight coming from spirit because I believe in that connectedness, that oneness with spirit, with God. And I love having these insights, these aha moments. And that's these moments of clarity. When spiritual truth becomes clear and it gives us guidance. How many of you regularly tap in to spirit? It's a beautiful thing. How many of you use spirit to come up with your creative unctions? Yeah. I just think it's a great partnership to have because it's like when you go within, because God is not without, it's within. When we go within, there's just so much yumminess in there. And it comes from nowhere but you. That's what makes it unique is, again, there's that you in there. So I've got 2 comments. Yes, one in the back first.
Okay, I have another comment.
Yes.
When you're going within
Mm-hmm.
and you're working on a concept, I like to think that I'm tapping into the universal consciousness. And that's one of my terms for God.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to work. If I let go of trying too hard and kind of float in that area, I can come up with some insights.
Yeah, that's the thing that I love is it's working together, so to speak, in a different kind of way because I believe we're all one, and so like tapping into that collective consciousness is, just another way of saying it. So thank you so much for sharing.
The other one is I think spirit also has a sense of humor.
Of
Because
course.
I play games on the computer in the morning just for training.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's one game where I noticed half of it is not me. The figures flash on the screen, and then they disappear. And sometimes if I forget them, I just say, okay, Holy Spirit, you do it. So 50% of the game is actually Holy Spirit, not me, because I haven't even seen the thing.
See, that's a real partnership right there.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. All right, so verification. The verification stage is the final stage. It's where the idea gets refined, the clarity, and now we're going to go ahead and put the thing in action and see if it works. And this can involve one person. It can involve a team of people because, again, I took it back to work. And again, AI picture, okay? And, and I know some people get, who are artists and things like that. I would never want to take away from the actual artist with AI. But for somebody just like me, just a little basic, it's very helpful to use this because one thing about it is it makes a lot of things easy. So in this phase, the spiritual side is you're grounding yourself and you're grounding your inspiration. And like I said, they're tangible. And I reflect back on where I started about how God created things in the beginning. First you think, you speak. Sometimes in creation we're writing it down. That's another form of speaking. And then we bring it into existence. We see it first in the mind's eye. And then we integrate these things into the physical world, our spiritual world, and see how they work. And then in the spiritual world, they show up as spiritual practices that we try. And I find spiritual practices to be another form of creativity. So, how can creativity bring us together as a community? How can creativity bring us together as a community?
Hi. Well, I think you mentioned some of those in your talk. As a community, if there's a problem that needs to be solved, we can come together and do some brainstorming to see if we can come up with something creative, a creative solution.
Yes.
And then here at Lake Harriet, this is a volunteer-run organization, so lots of times we're looking for people to do some things and to figure out creatively how can we do this without money. So.
Right. So, and that's a really good point. Some of the things I had put on here, opportunities to be creative, is like you all had a sound bath prior to service. That's a form of creativity, tapping into that. What are some other ways we can use creativity to bring us together as a community, as, Lake Harriet spiritual community, but also within our own communities? And community doesn't have to always mean outside of yourself. Community can be your family. What are ways that you can use creativity to create connectedness? We have the beautiful lady in the back. Thank you for raising your hand.
That's okay. Well, I've used creativity in my own home. I've got 4 children to process grief through painting.
Beautiful. To process grief. She's using painting. You said with kids? Yes. So she said to tap into beauty and inspiration. She's using painting with the kids to process their grief. What are some other ways? I've mentioned some before. What are some other ways you're using? I know all of you in here are creative.
I think teamwork. Each of the steps that you mentioned, if you have the ability to share these ideas, these notions with somebody else, going through the same process and being patient and waiting for it, and letting the ideas come out, and also trying to understand the onus behind the idea, and if that's less than pure, it's probably not right.
Right.
The most genius solutions are often very, very simple in hindsight.
And how about social activism? That's another way of using your creativity to create change in a community and bring people together on one accord for things that matter to you. We've talked about technology. Technology, someone created that. It didn't just show up. I can tell many of us in this room are familiar with the rotary dial. Okay? Now we have a cell phone. Somebody created that. Somebody thought about how this little, microwave signal might change, everything. We have drinking water, right? Somebody created that it comes out of the spout. Okay? Everything, that chair you're sitting on, somebody created that, because that didn't exist back in the day, that we weren't here. So you see, creativity is a constant part of our lives. So what are some blocks to creativity? Fear? Fear of what? What might we be afraid of that would keep us from stepping out? Judgment, right? Failure. We have one in the back. Failure, self-doubt. Doubting ourselves, doubting anyone would like. How many of you have not brought something to the world because you thought, oh, who am I? Nobody would want this, right? Yes.
one of the things that I think holds a lot of people back is the fear of change.
Yes,
And,
huge one.
There were cultures like in China and in the East where if you came up with a new idea, they executed you. You couldn't come up with a new idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the emperors of China were applauded and told how great they were because they did not allow any change. So that's what people are afraid of a lot of times.
Yeah, and that's especially, I used to manage people in call centers, and how many of you, do you all remember a company called MCI? It was a phone company. And I used to work for them, and we would call you up and try to get you to switch your service. And MCI, we changed so much that it became many changes instantly, is what we called the company. Because I would train you, today we're going to sell this plan, and if so-and-so, Bell South came out with this, now we're changing it tomorrow to compete with them. And so change will keep us from moving forward in our creativity because we're always trying to keep up with the Joneses, as the saying goes, rather than trusting in the divine idea that flowed through us. Our confidence will be impacted. Your spiritual connection will impact your creativity because we've got to have that connection. Inner chaos, you got too much going on. You're stressed out. Well, you can't be creative. A lot of times when you're stressed out, you need to be in that calm state. And then criticism. And oftentimes, it's not the external, it's the internal criticism. Because you talk to you more than anybody else on the planet. You're talking to yourself right now as you're listening to me. Okay? We're always talking. And you got to get that voice in alignment with truth. Neil?
I think there are two more things too. I wonder sometimes too if spirit or some other civilization also wants us to be creative. So there is two things here. Story that with the Sumerians, they were hunter-gatherers just like we were. But it so happened that one day they just got this inspiration that from almost one day to the next, they created streets, houses, schools, everything. So I wonder if the Anunnaki didn't just, breathe into them so that they would have these ideas and that they were able to implement them. And then the second thing is this too, that I imagine that God at some point might think, these guys would profit from knowing blah, blah, blah. So he just puts it into somebody's head. Edison might have had the idea of creating transportable electricity just because God thought it's about time. So that's one of my theories.
I always wonder, what decides the timing of particular inventions and things. It's interesting. I'm always asking these deep questions. But the thing that I love about blocks, we might see them as negatives. But the truth is, these things can actually be learning opportunities. So when we look at fear and we say, man, I'm afraid. Why am I afraid? Begin to inquire, get curious. Why am I afraid? Where did who said I couldn't do this? Because see, these things show us where we still need work. Because we're always, hopefully, you're sitting in here because your hope is to keep growing and evolving into the human you were born to be, to step fully into your power. And so when these things come up, is how can you use them as sources of growth? And then now this image, isn't this a beautiful image? I just love this. I said, create me a picture that shows cultivating creativity that's peaceful with flowers. And that's what it came. And I wanted water because I'm a Scorpio. I needed water in there. And I thought, wow, how beautiful. So cultivating creativity within. How do we cultivate it? Cultivate it through daily journaling. This is how we get to know ourselves. And this is a way for us to get it outside of ourselves. Because a lot of times we hold things in. Get that idea outside. Write it down on paper. And it's kind of good I find when I write things down, more stuff comes because I feel like I'm now partnering with the pad. Spending time in nature. How many of you are inspired from nature? Okay? Going outside, you hear the birds, you hear, when I'm still studying, doing my sound bath studies, and one of the exercises we have to do to attune ourselves to sound is to go out in nature and be aware, just lay there and notice all the sounds. And I was like, wow, like there were some kids, because they were not in my visual sight, but there were kids playing somewhere way off. There was a plane way off. It's like having this awareness, getting into nature and noticing the small things can be inspiring. Meditation, a lot of times, I studied under Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, and I don't know if any of you know him. He's from The Secret, and then he has a spiritual center, Agape, and I was studying to be a spiritual practitioner with him, and he taught us that meditation, so prayer is talking to spirit. Meditation, and I love this because I have a hard time sitting quiet. I've got some ADHD or something going on. But he said, think of meditation as like heaven's TMZ. It's like that's where you get the latest scoops from heaven. And I was like, oh, I can get with that because I love celebrity gossip. So I go into meditation listening. I go in with expectation that Spirit is going to speak to me. And so I'm going to be, and then I make my requests known. What do I want to hear? I say, speak to me, Holy Spirit, speak to me. I want to have a conversation. I want to hear from you. So set your intention. And then collective wisdom, like we're doing now. We're sharing ideas. This is some things I do. This is what I know. Collective wisdom, because we unfortunately cannot go and scan the entire internet like AI, but she's looked on the internet, he's looked on the internet, and we can bring our information together and come up with ideas and solutions. And then creating and being in spaces that inspire you. Okay, so if it's a museum for you, if it's, me, if you come to my home, I've created space that when I walk in there, I feel inspired, I feel at peace. And so here we are, we're talking about space. How do we create the space? Art, bringing art into your space. Colors that activate creativity within you. Colors have vibrations and they stimulate us. Fragrances. I like to burn incense. I like to burn, have essential oils in my space. What inspires you? Beauty. Okay, beauty is inspiration. You can't create in clutter. So having a beautiful environment. Bringing in nature. How many of you have live plants in your home? Okay? And if they're not live, if you're like me, a plant killer, okay? Fake ones will do. And meaningful objects. Bringing in pieces that matter to you, that inspire you. Pictures of loved ones, ancestors that inspire you. These things help to create an inspiring environment. And then creativity also is important to our well-being. Okay, it reduces stress, improves our mood. How many of you are angry? Well, unless you're in therapy, when you're painting. No, you're having a good time, right? or singing. You're having a good time. Dancing. You're having a good time. These things are all helping to shift your mood. It also helps with your brain function to be in creativity. And again, as I said before, it is an outlet for emotions. How many of you are using creativity in your daily spiritual practices? We have one over here. Can I ask how you're using it?
Through writing mostly.
Okay. So she's using writing. And so the other thing you can do, sometimes I don't write in my journal. One of the things I've learned to do is to doodle, is to just have colored pencils and to just circle or do whatever with the colored pencils. That's another way to bring creativity in. You have to have that self-care. Whoops. And then bringing it into your daily life through cooking, okay? Making your meals look beautiful, cleaning, gardening. When you bring your flowers home, if you go buy yourself flowers, making them look pretty, your home decor, your daily rituals, your personal style, your beauty, all of that are ways that you can express creativity. And the cost of not doing it, it's a high price. It impacts your joy, your connectedness. We have lack of innovation. We stay stuck and stagnant when we're not living in our creative selves. So I want you to ask yourself, what are some things you can do to reconnect? What are some things you can do to reconnect with your creative self? And how can we use it for healing? We've touched on some of these things. How can you use creativity to help you heal? She talked about using painting for grief. And
Asking questions. I mean, getting groups of people together and just simply asking a great question and
yeah, we get back to the collective. And then how do we start? How can we be a part of the change? It first starts with you. It starts with what he's saying, creating community gatherings, getting involved, implementing ideas, getting your heart coherence, getting our hearts, calm, because our hearts are the most powerful source of energy in the body, getting that calm down through meditation, because it has a ripple effect of inspiration, creativity, and community transformation. So, I'm Dorothy-Inez, and that picture was created by AI. Yes, it was. I'm an entrepreneur and I wanted to do a photo shoot and I couldn't afford a $10,000 photo shoot. So I plugged myself into AI and it gave me 100 pictures of myself that I can use. And I did have blue braids, so that's why it's got blue braids in there. But if you want to stay connected with me, find me on Facebook at Dorothy-Inez, and make sure you've got the dash in there, Brazil, and on Instagram. And I'd love to see some of you, if you need Reiki or sound healing, or women, you want to be in community. I host community events for women. My next event is a high tea, December 10th, and we're talking about stress for the avoiding stress for the holidays and sipping on some tea and being in community. So thank you so much for having me. I love being here, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you. We're going to cut right across somewhere
I'm
here.
going to do it when we...
Anyone
after.
can make the choice.
Okay. Good job. All right. I love when we all come together and connect. So let's take a collective breath in. And exhale out. And in. And out. And one more. And out. That doesn't mean stop breathing after this. How grateful I am for this day and these beautiful people in the room. I ask that as you go out, you go forth, that you bring the light, that you let the light of God so shine before anyone that you would touch today. I ask that all your needs be met this week and every week. And then I always like to close with a simple jingle that I think we all know. And if you'll sing it with me. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. There it is. Now go shine.